So true. So true, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are back.
It's all about residual income.
Let's address the elephant in the room. I know you're probably looking at this video right now, wherever you're watching this, thinking, did Marco's lawyer and Marco's barber team up to make him the most formidable man in the entire universe? And the answer to that is, of course, yes. So that's good. Thank you guys for being here again. We're back with another one.
God did.
Another one. Firstly, you may notice that we are back in Unicorn Pyramid Scheme La La Land, because that is where today's story takes place. Let's just jump right into it. The title of this is, why doesn't the FTC do anything about pyramid schemes? Or rather, why doesn't the FTC do anything about MLMs? You could ask the same question in a different way. Let me first share this with you, okay? Let me be kind. Let me say what's up to everybody. Let me say what's up to everybody. Let me say what's up to everybody. Let me say what's up to the people in the chat. Look at these members, look at these mods who thumbs up the thing. Everybody click like on the thing, you know, da-da-da-da. John Reardon, Alex FPV, Brandon C, Devin, Fun and Revenge just made it for the first time to Alive. Trey Tino, still not a member, impossible. Danielle W, you love to see it. Alex Zambrano, what up? Just found your channel. I'm pretty sure I recognize your name, Alex Zambrano, but if not, then appreciate you. Thank you, Trey Tino. You guys are seeing me fresh out of the shower, and I just went to the barbershop a couple hours ago, and honestly, my beard, me and my barber came to a very serious discovery about my beard. I had my beard line too low, and so I still probably need like 2 more weeks of growth before this is like properly luscious and where it's supposed to be, but just wait for it. Yeah, I hope you guys are good. Thumbs up the ting, get more people notified that we're live. All that. Appreciate you. I'm good in Louisville. Was Bracken blah? You good? You welcome anytime in Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, save me a plate in Louisville, Kentucky. Appreciate you. Antonio. Appreciate you. Tony. Appreciate y'all. So, why are we back here in Unicorn La La Land? Let's start with this. I want to do this. I want to take these two, and I want to go to this page. Whoa, and I want to go here. This is what we want to do. Wait for it. I know you can't see. There we go. That's what I want to do. I want to share the screen with you, but coming from Unicorn La La Land, that's what I want to do. And I know we're seeing me on the screen, but this is what I want to do. What I want to do is share with you this article from our friend Robert Fitzpatrick, author of the amazing book Ponzi-nomics. You know it, you love it, the Bible of understanding MLMs, pyramid schemes, their history, why the government allows them, on and on and on. He wrote an article. The GOAT blessed us with another article on September 1st. And I'm just going to share this with you, and we'll pick the most important bits to understand why the FTC doesn't do anything about pyramid schemes. This article is called Goodbye FTC. Here it goes. Since the mid-1990s, when the voices of anti-MLM started to grow, citizens who were injured, some irreparably, by multi-level marketing, MLM, turned to the Federal Trade Commission for truth, justice, and protection. Still today, FTC is treated by anti-MLM as the last best hope. FTC officials are honored guests and speakers at anti-MLM gatherings. First little comment about this. This is true. When I spoke at the MLM conference, sorry, hold on. Let me go back first. Let me not jump ahead of myself. First thing, yes, even I myself have urged people countless times to report to the FTC, fill out their report. They have a very easy, smooth process to report a scam or a pyramid scheme on their website. And you know what? That's even led to results. In certain cases. Back in 2021, I was going hard on the MLM company I Am Academy, exposing them for what I thought was a scam. I thought they were scamming people. And I even spoke to 2 lawyers from the FTC who reached out to me near the end of 2022 already more than a year after I started to expose I Am Academy. And then almost 3 full years went by before I learned what the results of that investigation and my conversations with those lawyers were. And the FTC sued I Am Academy for being a $1.2 billion scam, as they put it. And they describe a bunch of deceptive practices and scam tactics that they used, but the word pyramid does not appear anywhere in the report. So even when the reports from people, and of course I don't take that just to myself, there were other people exposing IM, it was around before I started exposing it, etc. But I do think the exposure that I gave to that scam and the reports that I urged people to file did play a role. I mean, after all, why would the FTC be reaching out to me personally to get on a Zoom call and ask about it and provide them information about IM if the reports didn't yield any results? So, in that case, yeah, it was good. We did a good thing. The FTC, we saw a scam. I told people, hey, we should report this scam to the authorities. You guys did report the scam to the authorities. The scam was shut down. Everybody's good, right? The problem is that the FTC has this habit of rarely going after pyramid schemes, and if they do, they don't call them pyramid schemes. Remember the Herbalife settlement, $200 million to $200 million settlement and an agreement to restructure their business practices and, clean things up. And also they're allowed to evade being labeled a pyramid scheme. And even the FTC, in probably the most shameful moment of FTC history, when then Chair Edith Ramirez said they were not determined not to have been a pyramid, is such a joke. And I've talked about that before. But ever since the FTC lost their most recent pyramid scheme case against the MLM called Neora, largely because they're so wishy-washy about what a pyramid scheme versus an MLM even is, what the distinction is, they hesitate to go after any MLM for the charge of being a pyramid scheme. So instead, they go after it for being a scam. And a scam could be a litany of things, You could charge somebody with making deceptive claims, for example. Plenty of that going on in MLM. But that is a symptom of being a pyramid scheme, in my opinion. That is not the practice in itself. That is not what the whole thing is about. The whole thing is about using those deceptive claims about you can make $10,000 a month and, live the lifestyle you want and blah, blah, blah. And this magical powder will cure any ailment and help you grow your fingers back and cure cancer and whatever. Those deceptive claims are the bait by which they get people into the real scam, which is the endless recruiting chain pyramid scheme, where you're paying every month and trying to recruit people who are also going to lose money. So the FTC is horribly ineffective when it comes to actually doing anything about the greater problem of pyramid schemes, because according to them, every MLM might maybe turn out to be a pyramid scheme if they decide to go looking for evidence of it being a pyramid scheme. They might decide one day, oh, this legitimate multi-level marketing company has actually been an illegal pyramid scheme the whole time. Whoops, sorry if it wasn't clear what to look for, because they're all the same. So I've told people to reach out to the FTC, and, it is good that they sued I Am Academy. And it is good that I Am Academy decided to shut down, but a lot of their top people who were enabling the scam to progress just went on to different MLMs. Alex Morton has already gone on to a different one. Jason Brown has already gone to start his own. Alex Morton is now in some MLM called GFU. It's just the same thing over and over. And guess what? He was allowed to settle. And if you go read the settlement between I Am Academy and the FTC, Alex Morton's portion of it is like the amount that he's paying is way less than the amount that they claim he earned from the scam for all those years that he was scamming people in IM. So how is it even justice? You're allowed to scam and make, for example, I'm not saying this is the exact amount, but let's say you scam people out of $1 billion and then your fine is $500 million. By my math, you still walked away with 500 M's. And then he's allowed to go on and be part of another MLM. And he did it with Vima. He did it with UNES. He did it with IM Academy. Now he's doing it with Jifu. It's just, there's no word that I can think of to describe how shameful and how frustrating that is to see that pattern repeated over and over and over again. You know, that these people have no consequences. You know, people going to jail for drug possession charges for, you know, drugs that they were going to use as, you know, personal use recreationally and not harm anyone else. And yet there's career scammers like Alex Morton out there who have scammed by this point probably tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people through their efforts, you know, directly and indirectly. And this guy's still, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. A little fine here, a little fine there, some bad PR here, some bad PR there, change companies, lay low for a while, go on vacation. It's just fucked. It's just fucked. Sorry if there's any kids watching at home. So, as Robert so eloquently puts here, we've been telling people, report to the FTC, report to the FTC. And when I spoke at the MLM conference, you know, even the name, when I spoke at the MLM conference in 2024 and 2023 about the dangers of MLM, really it was an anti-MLM conference, there were members of the FTC who spoke there. And you know what? When I spoke to them during like the intermission and whatever, I got the sense that all of them knew. It was sort of like a wink and a nudge, like, yeah, we know they're all pyramid schemes and we hate them and da-da-da-da-da. But it's like, okay, so either you guys don't care to do something, or three things are possible. Either you know and you don't care. Either you know every MLM is a pyramid scheme and you just don't care, which I don't think is the case. Two, you know, but the system that you're part of is so corrupt that it's actually like beyond your capability to actually rein in any companies or do anything. Or three, you're so incompetent and stupid that you actually don't even yourselves know the difference between an MLM and a pyramid scheme, and you're not able to see the obvious pattern that no one has ever been able to track or prove that anyone has ever made a retail profit from actually retailing MLM products as opposed to recruiting people into the endless chain. And I don't think it's that one either. Let's keep reading what Robert says. Tragically, the FTC's 30-year relationship with those aggrieved citizens has been dishonest, disappointing, and dysfunctional. Since the 80s, as an agency to protect the public against commercial fraud, the FTC has been on a downward, though sometimes uneven trajectory. The FTC has been on a downward, though sometimes uneven trajectory. It descended through stages of political compromise and pressure to unethical conflicts of interest to gross corruption. More recently, FTC seems to have gone over to the dark side, protecting the powerful against the public, a reversal of its role. Consider its attack on the 20-year-old nonprofit Media Matters for America. He goes on to talk about the FTC helping and aiding Elon Musk after he got into a spat with Media Matters. Skipping over this. Okay, so skipping ahead past the Elon Musk Media Matters thing. Abusive relationship. Whereas Elon Musk and the FTC now appear as soulmates, the relationship of MLM victims, anti-MLM, to the FTC resembles that of an abused spouse continuously forgiving Let me start this over. Whereas Elon Musk and the FTC now appear as soulmates, the relationship of MLM victims, anti-MLM, to the FTC resembles that of an abused spouse that continuously forgives infidelities and lies, expecting their partner to change someday. In over 30 years, MLM victims have never gotten what they want, ask for, and need from the FTC to bring MLM to a reckoning. Worse, the FTC cheats on the trusting MLM victims. Many FTC officials get into bed with MLM, taking lucrative jobs with MLM companies, the DSA, or MLM attorney and consulting firms. The most outrageous of these infidelities was when the immediate past chair of the FTC, John Leibowitz, had a brazen affair with the MLM Herbalife. Leibowitz was working for Herbalife as it negotiated a deal with the FTC communicating with FTC officials who only recently called him their boss. When a final deal was made, this former FTC official was named a senior advisor to the Herbalife board of directors. Now, I'm just asking a question here. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that that's okay or appropriate or, insert any word there? Viz Mayhem, thank you. Viz Mayhem becoming a member. Thank you, Viz Mayhem. I don't know why I'm still not hearing the sounds. I'm still not getting the sound effects playing through the thing. Thank you, Viz Mayhem. Thumbs up the ting, y'all. Thumbs up the ting. Goon tax. Viz Mayhem paying the goon tax by way of membership. So thank you for that. By the way, somebody in the chat, tell me, did that pop up for y'all? Viz Mayhem's joining as a member, because I sure didn't hear it, and I have it set to. You know what? Maybe it's this. Maybe if I go to the MIDI, advanced MIDI setup, this. No? Okay. Very strange. Let me test something. If I go to alert box and then I go to preview. Here, let's test this. Oh, I hear it twice.
Kevin donated 74 Canadian dollars. This is a test donation for 74 Canadian dollars.
Did y'all hear it twice? I did for some reason. Okay. I feel like reporting about this one place where I live that has a fitness nutrition store, but it's actually Herbalife. Really pretty girl had me do a 3-day free program with Herbalife products. I had to use my wife as an excuse to not continue with them. Insane. Weird. So you guys did see it pop up? Thank you, Baza boy. Appreciate you. Say it with me. But Marco, pyramid schemes are illegal, right? Marco in Super Mario Galaxy 3. So true. Starla, thank you. This is actually not a new background. I debuted this background over a year ago. But here, let me see if roasting the powerful against the public, a reversal of its role. Consider its attack on the 20-year-old. Why didn't I fucking hear that? He goes on. So weird. Why is this? Why is this happening? This was happening the last stream as well, right? Refresh cache. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe this will fix it. Copy widget. Copy. Put it into here. Oopsies. Paste. Okay. Launch. Okay. Oh, I hear something. Oh, there we go. There we go. Viz Mayhem. Goontax. Space Junk Galaxy Panya Head Top. So true.
You're wrong. You're fucking poor. Money.
Catch me and your gal at the Planet Observatory. So true. Thank you. Appreciate you, S.A. Wagwan. Thank you. Jimmy Moon, what up? Visa Real Badman. So true. Thumbs up the ting, y'all. Thumbs up the ting. Get more people notified that we're in this. That we're in there like swimwear. Okay. Catch me outside. How about that? Okay, continuing on here. Let me go here. Close Discord for sure. That's not helping the... Oh, I've got too much shit open right now. Let me stabilize. I know I'm crashing because for the... yes. Perhaps I lower it even more now. Oh, let's see. Yeah, here I changed the bit rate to maybe 510. See if that helps a little bit at least. Oh, now I'm getting huge. Yeah, now I'm getting huge numbers. Okay. We good? think we're good. Okay. So yes, let me read that just so that when I edit this together, it's not like taking it over. Consider its recent attack on the 20-year-old nonprofit Media Matters for America. Skipping ahead. Okay, here. So yeah, this is insane to me as well. The fact that you have this FTC director. No, sorry. What is he? The former chair. He was the immediate past chairperson, leader, head honcho, number one, boss of the Federal Trade Commission, had just left the FTC and is now working as an advisor for Herbalife while it's in the midst of this like investigation, lawsuit, whatever you want to call it, with the FTC that they ended up settling for $200 million. You know, and I don't know exactly what the overlap looked like in terms of how long before he was there that he went to Herbalife. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how long before he went to Herbalife that he was actually at the FTC? Like, was he part of the staff that was investigating Herbalife for the deceptive claims and the business model and whatever while he was still there, and then he left and started immediately playing for the other team? I don't know. But regardless, it just seems like, I mean, I'll use Robert's words here instead of my own. Here, does this work if I... Okay, there we go. What does Robert call it here? Outrageous. He says, the most outrageous of these infidelities was when the immediate past chair of the FTC had a brazen affair with Herbalife. So yeah, I mean, it's just madness. Leibowitz was working for Herbalife as it negotiated a deal with the FTC, communicating with officials who only recently called him their boss. When a final deal was made, this former FTC official was named a senior advisor to the Herbalife board of directors. You know, the FTC's investigation and settlement of Herbalife was flagrant, multi-partner philandering by the FTC under the noses of trusting MLM victims. Whereas the cries of millions of Herbalife victims over a 35-year span had been ignored, a Wall Street billionaire trying to make a lot of money off an Herbalife investigation managed to have his way with the FTC. He's, of course, here talking about Bill Ackman. You can watch the movie Betting on Zero if you're interested in this. We did a Discord movie night, I think, a year ago. Join my Discord in the description if you're interested, where we watched that movie and I sort of talked about, you know, my thoughts on it. Here, he goes on to say, then behind the back of the billionaire, the FTC made a sweetheart deal with Herbalife. The FTC investigation that pleased the billionaire and the FTC settlement that satisfied Herbalife were announced on the same day. Then, all enforcement of the deal was sealed in secrecy. Hundreds of thousands of victims who waited faithfully at home were given a few $100 each by the FTC, effectively to keep quiet. So think about that. In order for a big regulatory agency like the FTC to settle on the same day that it announces a lawsuit, I mean, that's so fast. It makes me, like, in my mind, you know, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a professional in that space, but in my mind, that means that you had to have, like, agreed to do that beforehand. Because a lawsuit, especially a complaint against a big company like Herbalife, would have been many, many pages. I mean, let's say they send it to you first thing, 8 in the morning. Okay, boom. Your law firm receives it. Your lawyer reads through it. You have to have a discussion about, like, what to do about it. And then, like, assess whether you can actually defend against it and litigate it, or, you know what I mean? Talk about the options. And you settled and came to a number, by the way. Never mind the mediation process where you go, okay, let's settle this. And you go back and forth about, like, how much do you want? We think it's worth this much, blah, blah, blah. For you to settle on the same day, I would think that you had to have agreed about, like, how it was going to go beforehand, right? That's just what my common sense tells me, you know? Sweet promises. Before that scandal, the FTC had sweetly promised to make MLM victims happy with a business opportunity rule requiring full disclosures of risks and costs by all companies selling business opportunities. MLMs constitute nearly all such companies. In your own life, what can you think of that is a business opportunity that people, like, offer you to get involved with that's not an MLM? The MLM mantra repeated to millions daily is, let me tell you about an exciting business opportunity. The FTC did enact the business opportunity rule, but exempted MLMs. This has to be, again, one of the most shameful and idiotic choices made by the FTC. You talk about a business opportunity rule, which I've talked about this in years prior. I was talking about this business opportunity rule and how it might inhibit MLMs like 5 years ago, literally. Talking about a business opportunity rule that would impose upon MLMs disclosures, telling people the actual loss rates up front when they join or before they join, explaining the risks, explaining the costs. And of course, it only makes sense that this would apply to MLM because nearly all of the business opportunities that people try to entice other people into are MLMs. And then they introduced the business opportunity rule, but didn't include MLMs. So what did you include? Like girls trying to get other girls to like do lash extensions and shit? Like what else is there? More recently, the FTC is tantalizing MLM victims with a new promise, this time an income disclosure rule. So fucking just you'll understand in a moment why this is so ridiculous. You'll understand in a sec why this is so nonsense. This would require MLMs to make full and understandable revelations about income and losses, like all other enterprises must do when soliciting financial investments from consumers. This promise has been spiced up with a plan to incorporate the income rule in a revised business opportunity rule that FTC is seductively suggesting would now include MLMs. MLM victims are sternly told to stay home and be patient while the FTC goes on this rulemaking trip, which may take years. The caddish duplicity of this latest promise of an income rule is that the FTC has in its possession irrefutable data showing that more than 99% of all MLM participants never gained a net profit. Thus, there is no income to disclose. So again, it's just nonsense. Like, trust me, bro. I swear to God, FTC, the FTC, that should be their motto. Federal Trade Commission. Trust me, bro. Don't worry about it. You know? Long time no see. Let's grab lunch soon. Just empty platitudes that don't go anywhere. Oh, hey, how you been? Oh, we should link up soon. We should catch up. Fuck you. You know? An income rule, an income disclosure rule. Okay, so you're going to disclose that nobody made any income? It's just mind-boggling. You know, we're going to look back one day on this, on me talking about this and, you know, this article and the current state of things, the absolute state of the FTC and MLM and pyramid schemes in the world. And we're going to all be like, what the fuck? Why did that take so long? America is fucked. That's what we're going to say. One day, everyone will have been against this. For all the millions of people that are out there that still try to call me a hater and a dream stealer and, you know, whatever, one day, everyone will have been against this. Just like everyone today is against slavery and they all say, oh yeah, well, if I was alive in them times, I would have done blah, 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 blah. Correspondingly, the FTC has never found a shred of evidence that anyone ever gained a sustainable net profit from the retail selling of MLM products. These two facts, no income and no profitable retailing, mean the FTC knows that MLM income is based solely on pyramid recruiting. Such ill-gotten gain is not income, but a systematic money transfer. If you scam someone, you don't get to say, well, that's my income. You're scamming. It's not like you worked, you know what I mean? You're bringing money in, but it's not income, if that makes sense. It requires deception and cult persuasion and always causes loss to the 99% at the bottom. Heartbreakingly, the promise of the income disclosure rule is yet another example of the FTC two-timing the MLM victims. It's like, you know, y'all are playing in our face. You know? Playing in our face. They are on another planet. They're in where we are right now. Unicorn, pyramid, cotton candy, la la land. It's an alternate fucking dimension where data, statistics, common sense math doesn't exist. Where I can draw on a whiteboard. Here's a circle. If you recruit 5, now there's 5 people below. If they recruit 5, now there's 25. If they recruit 5, now there's 125. The majority of people are on the bottom all the time, earning nothing and spending, thus losing money. And the only way for them to not is to recruit more people, which means now there's an exponentially larger amount of victims. In this unicorn pyramid scheme, cotton candy, la la land, that doesn't matter. You can show them that, and they'll sit there in their suits and, yeah, maybe, income opportunity rule, business opportunity rule. Interesting. The data, distinction between legitimate MLM and pyramid scheme. It's enough to drive anybody fucking crazy. If I didn't laugh, I would cry. Because it's the most easy to prove blatant immorality and fraud probably ever. What's a good thought experiment? What's actually a more obvious fucking scam than a pyramid scheme? I'm literally trying to think. I was gonna say the idea that I had was like somebody trying to sell you some supplement and say that it cures cancer or whatever. But guess what? MLMs do that too. So I mean, can't believe you've done this. Failure and disappointment. As a final disappointment to MLM victims, in 2024, the FTC lost its most recent and one of its very rare cases against an MLM. The FTC claimed the MLM was a pyramid scheme that falsely promised financial independence and sold dodgy health products. Such MLM cases are usually easily won. FTC prosecutions of MLMs are extremely rare. Yeah, they do raise hope among the ever-faithful MLM victims. But time caught up with the FTC. Years of neglect and continued FTC proclamations that MLM is legitimate direct selling had penetrated public perception, including the courts. I mean, don't be mad when y'all lose a lawsuit against an MLM that you say is a pyramid scheme, because you've been going on for decades being like, yeah, there are legitimate MLMs and there are illegal pyramid schemes. Y'all are fucking yourself when you go to court. You played yourself. Oh, okay. All right, bet. If I'm the pyramid scheme that you're suing and you tell us and the world and the court that there is such a thing as legitimate direct selling and you have a very vague interpretations of what that actually is, guess what? Me, with my endless billions from scamming people, I'm going to go, okay, I'm one of those. I'm one of those legitimate MLM whatevers. I'm a legitimate MLM direct selling company. I'm not one of those pyramid schemes. And I'm going to use your own fuckery and lack of explanation and distinction and standing on business against you. And that's exactly what happened. Now, with hundreds of MLMs operating openly and unmolested by the FTC, essentially identical to the one prosecuted, it was the FTC, not the pyramid scheme, that appeared out of bounds. The case dragged on for 5 years. You gotta love that. An entire presidential run, plus a bit, to go after Neora. 5 years of time wasted, half a decade. How many dollars worth of resources spent on FTC lawyer salaries, staff attorneys, experts, court fees, fuckery. FTC applied its usual tortured arguments that the MLM model is legal and legitimate. But incredibly, this one MLM the FTC had inexplicably... Starting again. But incredibly, this one MLM the FTC had inexplicably singled out from among maybe 1,000 others that use the same model and sell similar health products is not legal. Okay, let's hear them out. FTC sought to cite statistics and words, not the MLM endless chain model itself. Again, parsing the practices of deceptive claims, loss rates, income and product claims, but never actually talking about the endless chain, which is the basis of the fraud and is actually the fraud itself. Not the MLM endless chain model itself. Doing that would implicate other MLMs. There you go. So you've politicked yourself into a corner, FTC, where because you don't go after the endless chain and you've sort of forced it to be this way, where you can only go after like the claims that people in MLMs make and that the companies make, you're not able to go after what the actual fraud is, which is the endless chain. Because if you did that, the MLM could go, oh, well, we're just like XYZ times 1,000 other MLMs. So, why don't you go? You know what I mean? It's like, by the way, even if this hadn't happened, even if the FTC had just won with flying colors this lawsuit against Neora, okay, now what? I mean, first of all, would they have won or would they have settled? Maybe that was an option. I don't know. Maybe the FTC turned that down. I don't know what happened. We don't know. But let's say that they had won. Okay, great. One MLM has gone down for being a pyramid scheme, as you accuse them, according to you. Great. Now what? Now what? They're going to go start another one. There's still 1,000 other ones. There's still new ones popping up every day. Y'all wasted 5 years just to go after one. Amway still around? Herbalife still around? New Skin still around? Companies whose names I can't say because have situations going on behind the scenes still around? Oh, okay. Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. To show emphasis on recruiting over retailing. Okay, yeah, so FTC sought to cite statistics and words, not the MLM endless chain model itself. Doing that would implicate other MLMs to show emphasis on recruiting over retailing. The distinction has blurred over the years. The MLM's use of an impossible endless chain income proposition, the foundation of its pyramid pay plan, was never contested by the FTC because the very same proposition is made by all MLMs. They're all the same with a different disguise. Whoa. Thumbs up the ting. We in here. I'm going to read your comments in a second. Robert's vocabulary is fire, right? Caddish, unmolested. Yep. The endless recruiting chain with escalating bonuses, the endless recruiting chain with escalating bonuses for the recruiters is the basis for MLM's famous promise of unlimited income. FTC disastrously lost the case, dashing any last bits of hope from MLM victims for further pyramid prosecutions, even as rare as they were. Without clear distinctions being made about what an MLM is versus what a pyramid scheme is, and without the FTC saying, you know what, we were wrong. There is no such thing as a legitimate MLM direct sales company. Without them doing that, it makes it infinitely harder for them to go after other MLMs in the future. Because before, it used to be easy. The FTC would rarely bring a case against an MLM. And when they did, it was almost a for sure win because they had the evidence stacked so high and so strongly. Now, after the Neora loss, it's at a point where there's now case law. There's precedent for what it looks like for an MLM to beat the FTC in court. So now, fast forward, 2025, FTC sues IM Academy, an MLM company, but not for being a pyramid scheme, for being a scam, for making deceptive claims. Bad match from the start. MLM victims and the FTC were never meant for each other. The FTC is an agency for regulating trade. The evidence and the accusation of victims against MLMs is that the MLM model is a pyramid scheme. Pyramid schemes are frauds, not trade. Pyramid schemes are inherently deceptive and unfair, meaning that if the model is fraud, then every MLM follows suit. Inherent fraudulence cannot be regulated. So the point he's making here is that the FTC should have never even been the ones put in charge of overseeing MLM in the first place. They should not be the regulator of MLM because they're the Federal Trade Commission, not the Federal Fraud Commission. Fraud is criminal. Fraud is crime. The FTC can only bring a civil case. So by labeling MLM as a legitimate thing, it's not only makes it harder to shut them down for being a pyramid scheme because a pyramid scheme is a fraud. Even if the FTC does bring a pyramid scheme charge, well, their only recourse is settlements, fines. They can only bring civil cases. You can't put someone behind bars. The FTC can't put someone in jail. Okay? So Robert gives us a suggestion for who should be in charge. He says, further, even if the FTC might determine that an individual MLM is a pyramid, it cannot bring criminal charges, only civil ones, and the case would not apply to any of the hundreds of other MLMs, even though they operate identically. Damages to consumers from MLMs over time are in the hundreds of billions, affecting tens of millions. They cause unspeakable injury to families, lead to bankruptcies, destroy careers, and ruin lives. Hardly an offense for modest fines and wrist slapping, which is what they do currently. Serious jail time is the appropriate remedy. This is a job for the FBI and Justice Department. When have you ever seen the FBI go after an MLM company for being a pyramid scheme? These people who go from MLM to MLM, sometimes they're shut down for being a pyramid scheme, like Vima. Sometimes they're shut down for being a scam, like I Am Academy. Who are the common denominators? Who are the usual suspects who appear again and again? People like Alex Morton, slithering their way out of actual justice. Alex Morton needs to be buried underneath the prison forever. Since 1979, while knowing that there is no MLM income and in the face of documented injuries to tens of millions of consumers, and while never vouching for any single MLM, in other words, the FTC has never said, here's an example of an MLM doing it totally the right way. This is the good one. This is an example. FTC has maintained that MLM is legitimate and all MLMs are presumed perfectly legal, even if they change their mind later. Don't worry about that. Just do your best. Based on this, FTC has never conducted a comprehensive examination of MLM. It investigates consumer complaints one MLM at a time, each case taking years. Paraphrasing the Marx Brothers, the FTC asks MLM victims, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes? From the outside, anyone can see this FTC MLM victim relationship is toxic. Yet, many MLM victims steadfastly defend and excuse the FTC. They chastise and shun friends and family who suggest they walk out the door and reclaim their freedom and power. Robert Fitzpatrick, September 1st, 2025. I mean, big up to Robert for still continuing to bless us with gems, even though Ponzionomics came out almost 5 years ago now. If you haven't read this book, Ponzionomics, by now, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go buy Ponzionomics. The audiobook is also available. Robert narrates it himself. He has a great soothing voice if you'd like to listen to it. It is such a compelling, gripping book. It's like reading a crime novel, but it's actually a real story and it takes place in the real world. It's like true crime, basically. Such an incredible, and I mean, go watch my interview with Robert if you haven't seen that as well from 2021. We're due for another one. We're due to run it back and have a little boys link up. So, you know, this is, in summary, why doesn't the FTC do anything about pyramid schemes? To answer the question of this video, why doesn't the FTC do anything about pyramid schemes, or rather MLMs? Because it's at the point where the FTC is an integral part of continuing the scam. Contrary to what they should be doing, which is actually stopping the scamming. It's not even their place to be stopping it in the first place. In Ponzionomics, the last chapter is called No Hope and None Needed. Let me share with you a little bit from this. Give me 1 second. Find the page. The afterword of this book says, no hope and none required. Okay? I have a part here that I've underlined here. He writes, from my own years of experience, I lost hope, and I discovered that none is required to continue providing expert witness and consulting services, to maintain consumer education resources, and to assist news media, authors, researchers, bloggers, victim groups, and colleagues in law, academia, and nonprofits. I no longer refer individuals to complain to the FTC on their own. It is a futile and frustrating action given the FTC's history of revolving door connections to MLM. Though an organized large-scale complaint by thousands of victims might awaken law enforcement. I also never suggest contacting the Better Business Bureau. Without knowledge or even efforts at investigation, the BBB, like the FTC, routinely and baselessly treat MLM as legitimate. And it deals mostly just with refund complaints. Some MLMs that have been shut down or sued in class action lawsuits had A ratings. which is the part here? Hold on. Skipping ahead a little bit to the final, and spoiler for the very last thing that is said in Ponzi-nomics, if you don't want this spoiled for you. When the truth of multi-level marketing is no longer unimaginable and unspeakable, but is as clearly recognized as the reality of cigarette smoking, the end of the largest of all cults and its global pyramid scheme will fall like the house of cards it is. This is where we are at in the current timeline, ladies and gentlemen. We are still in the awareness stage of the problem. We are still in the appealing to people's humanity stage of the problem, trying to convince people, essentially, that MLM is not business. It is not a legitimate enterprise. It is fraud. It's a pyramid scheme. And even worse than that, they are mind-controlling cult movements. You can scam someone by saying, hey, you want to make a lot of money? And using just good old deception and tricking them. But why does MLM need to convince people of more? Why does MLM need you to become a faithful servant of its ideology and become indoctrinated into a cult? Because if you imbue something with a religious sense of commitment and hysteria, and you turn it into a cult and turn it into a matter of belief, well, now it becomes something abstract that you can't disprove, because it's now become a faith-based enterprise. Example. Let's say you have a friend who believes in fairies, okay? You'd probably think this friend is crazy. Let's say they even tried to convince you to believe in fairies. Maybe you'll go along with them. Maybe they'll convince you. Maybe they won't. In any case, the person who's trying to convince you of the existence of fairies is probably doing it with appeals to faith, not with actual evidence. Because as far as we know, no one has ever come up with any concrete evidence of the existence of fairies. Your friend who believes in fairies might say to you, well, you can't disprove the existence of fairies, even though, of course, the burden of proof is on the person making the claim, not the one trying to disprove the claim. You can't disprove nothing. You can't disprove a negative, obviously. And I believe that which can be claimed without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. But just for the sake of this hypothetical, let's say they're trying to convince you to believe in fairies. Fine. I have no issue with that. Believe whatever you want. Honestly, believe whatever you want. If you believe in fairies, great. And I also welcome you using your freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, whatever, to even go and try to convince others to believe in fairies. Go wild. Knock yourself out. Where it crosses over from faith into fraud is when you advocate so hard for the existence of fairies, and then on top of that, start trying to sell people fairy dust, telling them that you got this from real fairies, and if you use this fairy dust, you'll be able to fly and whatever. That's where we've crossed the line. That's where it crosses over from somebody potentially being crazy to now somebody being malicious with their intentions. If they just started out trying to sell you fairy dust and you never believed in fairies, you would be like, this person is just trying to scam me. They're just trying to sell me snake oil, fairy dust. But if they get you to believe first, well, it really doesn't matter what they're trying to sell. And it doesn't matter if you never make money reselling the fairy dust. And it doesn't matter if the fairy dust never actually does what they claimed it would do. You believe. That's all that matters. We could show someone in this fairy company buying fairy dust and recruiting other people to also buy fairy dust and sell it to others and recruit others in a fairy dust pyramid scheme. We could show them the loss rates. We could show them that the fairy dust doesn't do what they claim it does. We could show them that it's an ineffective product. We could show them that the math of the endless recruiting chain dooms the vast majority of people and probably them to losing money. But if they believe, good luck. They believe. It's like trying to get somebody to turn their back on their religion. Religion is a faith-based enterprise. Okay? You ask for evidence about something, they say, well, God works in mysterious ways, or it's a matter of just believe, whatever it is. Okay? There's a great quote that I think of when I think of this. I'd rather have questions I can't answer than answers I can't question. That's a bar.
Bars.
Don't tell me, just pray on it. Don't tell me God works in mysterious ways. Don't tell me it's all part of God's plan. I don't like that personally. I don't like the power being taken away from me. In MLMs, you have to recognize this is exactly what they do. Follow the plan is another way of saying God works in mysterious ways. It's another way of saying pray on it. Follow the plan. The system works. Do you work? I have a Lamborghini and I have a Rolex. It worked for me. All I had to do was follow this. All I had to do was believe. Do you have limiting beliefs? Do you give yourself permission? Have you become the main character in your own story? Have you gotten out of your own way? Are you turning up the thermostat on your own life? You've hit the ceiling, but have you broken through the ceiling? You know, it's just empty fucking babble. Babble. Yep, thought-stopping rhetoric. Exactly. This is why it's imperative that MLMs become cults, because we can prove fraud. We can disprove fraud. That's why it's so much easier to prove a Ponzi scheme than to prove an MLM, because Ponzi scheme victims are usually told, okay, give me $100 and I'll 10x it for you, and I have some business that's doing it behind the scenes and blah, blah. And they just sit there and wait for their money. And that's what it's all about. If they don't get the money, they'll be like, this guy fucking scammed me. Or in the case of like a Bernie Madoff, where he was supposedly holding all this money and doing investments with it, but really it was just sitting in his bank account. If too many people tried to pull out their money at the same time, which is what happened, and he's not able to, you know, pay back the previous people, whatever, if too many people try to pull out at the same time, the whole thing collapses. So it's easy to see that. Whereas MLM is in a constant state of collapse. People are leaving, new people are joining. Those people are leaving, new people are joining. It requires on the constant churn of people. And guess what? If that kept happening over and over and over again, and the whole goal was just to make money, every MLM would have been exposed long ago, because people would go, I lost money. They promised me money and I lost money. It's a scam, plain and simple, the end, done, Ponzi scheme. But because MLM first makes you believe, you don't feel that way when you lose money. I believed. I saw with my own eyes the guy with the Lamborghini and the big house. I went to the penthouse meeting. I went to his mansion and I saw. So I know it must work. They get you to believe in the promise, and they get you to believe that if you don't achieve the promise, that it's your fault. So you don't have the same sort of animosity towards the Bernie Madoff who got you in. And that's what makes MLM so sinister. You know, back in the old days where you had snake oil salesmen who would wheel their wagon of snake oils into some rural town and do a presentation, if they got caught out, or once they had milked all of the dollars from that community that they could, they would just pack up their cart and roll on into the next town. And they better watch out to not show their face again around somebody that they promised a miracle cure to who didn't receive it, or, you know, they bought it for their sick child and their child ended up dying anyways. You better hope you don't run into them again, because there will be hell to pay. Likewise, if you run a Ponzi scheme, you better hope you don't run into any of your victims. Flee the country, get plastic surgery, change your name, do the things that these kinds of scammers do. MLM, however, is the only scam where you can scam someone repeatedly, month after month after month. And when they're broken and isolated from their friends and family because they cut off everyone who was a negative dream stealer, was thinking, who didn't believe, when they've lost their money, when they've become garage qualified, filling up their guest room in their garage with monthly orders of crap to try to get their PV and maintain their rank and whatever, and they're literally drowning in product. And they finally say, okay, you know what? I've got to quit. This isn't it. That's the only scam where the person who got them in, or the person above them or above them, can look that person in the face and go, guess you didn't try hard enough. System works. Maybe you just didn't work. Well, that's a shame. This isn't for everybody. It's so evil because normally if anybody was to get scammed out of the same type of, if anybody was to get scammed to the same degree, no, not scammed. If anyone was to get negatively impacted to the same degree that MLMs negatively impact people, the loss of relationships, the destroyed lives, the destroyed finances, the mental anguish, the psychological manipulation, the time wasted, if anybody had done something to you that caused all of those things, you would have probably done something retaliatory if you ever saw them, if you get what I'm saying. Use your imagination. Whereas with MLM, it's so much more evil because it's the only thing I can think of where you can do all those things to a person and then get away with it in broad daylight and look at them and go, this isn't for everybody. The system worked for me. I don't know. Maybe you just didn't. Did you follow the system? Clearly not. Did you trust the process? Did you get out of your own way? Oh, you told me this would give me time freedom. And then when I lost all my money, you told me I didn't put enough time in. So which is it? You told me follow the system and be at every Zoom meeting and commit myself and go prospecting every day and tell strangers in Target that I love their shoes. And I did that. And here I am, embarrassed that I did all that, out on my ass because I spent all this money and I've gone into debt to try to maintain my PV and my TV. I've become a fucking zombie psychopath who looks at every person as a mark and is not actually having genuine relationships anymore because I just want people to join my downline. I dropped out of school for this. I quit my job for this. I broke up with my wife or husband because of this. To go all in because you said if I really want to achieve big and be on that stage, I got to go all in. I did all that and I still haven't got any of it. And I don't even know who to be mad at. And everyone's telling me I can only be mad at myself. Truly, there's no other evil. I mean, there's no other comparable evil in the world today. I swear to God. I really believe that. You know, if I told you that there was something that you could get involved with that will alienate you from your friends and family, that will change the way you look at people and only look at people as an opportunistic psychopath who's just trying to get money out of them, if I told you that it was going to take away all your time that you would have otherwise put into other self-development or education or work prospects, if I told you that it was going to isolate you from your friends and family, if I told you that it was going to do all of these terrible things, if I told you it was going to leave you sleep deprived and have a negative impact on your life, and I said, fill in the blank, like it's Jeopardy, and you have to give me the answer, you would all probably say, like, I don't know, a serious debilitating drug addiction. How else can you achieve all of those results with the same thing? A serious debilitating drug addiction. And it's actually worse than that because it'll give you all those things from a serious debilitating drug addiction. But usually if you have a drug addiction, it's only actually you putting the drugs into your own body. When you're in an MLM, you're trying to recruit people to poison themselves. And you're doing it. You're like forcing the pill or whatever down their throat to be like, join my team, join my team. When can you get on a call? Is Tuesday good for you? I really want you to meet my mentor. They're an amazing husband and wife couple who retired at 36 and blah, 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 blah. You know? Appreciate you, Brandy Clark. Benjamin's late. You're fired? No, it's all good. So in short, why hasn't the FTC done anything about pyramid schemes, MLMs? Because the corruption is at such a high level. The MLM scammers, the companies, collect money through ill-gotten gains from scamming people, from using deception, false earnings claims, product claims, etc. They use that money and they gift it through lobbying and political support to politicians, congresspeople. Those congresspeople are then in charge of the regulatory agencies like the FTC. They decide their budget, they decide their direction, etc. The FTC then has to go, okay, we're going to try to go after X insert MLM. It's going to take this many years. It's going to take this many dollars to litigate. They have more money than us. They have more time than us. And they have the political connections of the politicians that they've rubbed elbows with and done boodling and bribing and went to the DSA on the Hill day. You know, and even if we do get them, it doesn't do anything about the wider apparatus of the scam. Because once again, we, the FTC, have proclaimed that it's legitimate. And to go back on that now would be so cataclysmic. And it would just be a, you know, at what point do we say, hey, actually, we got it wrong all these years without forsaking our immediate, like, previous mentors who actually were overseeing our, you know, coming up through this, who we have good relationships with? Like, how do we, at what point do we say, okay, it's 2025, every previous FTC administration was wrong, all the people who worked here the day before this moment were actually wrong and were complicit in the biggest scam and cult operation in human history. Sorry about that. You know what I mean? It's like almost too big now to put it back in the bottle. Not to mention the political connections, not to mention the compounding power of the originating families of MLM, like the DeVos Van Andel families. You know, it's almost like how even now when it comes to Scientology, they don't even really have to recruit people into Scientology anymore. Scientology is effectively like a real estate holding company at this point. They own so much land that they don't even really, it doesn't even really need to thrive as a religion anymore because they've already reached escape velocity. They have, you know, they've done it. They won. They have the money. You know, they reached tax exempt status. They're considered a legitimate religion. You know, it's very, actually, there's a lot of parallels there. They got the tax exempt status by being labeled as a legitimate religion. Now what? Again, it doesn't matter if you point out that people lose money, people get isolated from their families, people lose everything, people go missing, on and on. The countless stories that have been told about Scientology from former members. People believe. They believe. They're searching for community. They're searching for purpose. They went in for a personality test, and then it became this whole other thing. MLMs, they want you to, oh, I'm working on a business concept. I'd really appreciate it if you were there on this Zoom. I just have to give a presentation, and I wanted to get your feedback, which is a fucking lie. It's actually just their ruse to try to pitch you the MLM, just like the personality test is the ruse to try to get you through the doors of Scientology. Yeah, you know? And like I said, we're still in the awareness stage at this point in the timeline. And it's literally going to take, I've said this before too. I even think that perhaps the fate of MLM doesn't even come from the regulatory agencies or the government doing anything about it, but they just get bled out because the awareness around what they are is so big. But I actually don't have much faith in that because there's the saying, every minute there's a sucker born, which I don't really like because I don't think people in MLMs are suckers. I think you're not a sucker because you were vulnerable. I don't think you're a sucker because you trusted a friend who told you that there was a cool business or an opportunity. You know, I don't think you're a sucker for that. I think you were taken advantage of, or that you were a trusting person. That's not a crime. That's not something we should shame, you know? But MLMs constantly transform their disguise. They say, oh, this is a new thing. It's a new thing. I mean, look, even 5 years ago during COVID, when everybody was going crazy about crypto and NFTs, you saw how people lost their mind about crypto. No one could explain it. No one could explain how it's different than a Ponzi scheme. You know, no one could explain the tangibility or the utility of it. But everyone lost their mind. You know, so yeah, you know, I think it's going to take things like individuals winning cases against MLM companies. It's going to take situations where independent media or independent journalists or content creators go after these MLMs, exposing what they do, and they don't take the settlement and they win the lawsuit, and they, you know what I mean? And they don't adhere to the cease and desist letter. Taking those wins and putting public pressure on a MP or AG, or, you know, depending on the country you're in, putting the pressure on somebody who's brave enough to actually say, hey, you know what? This person, Always Marco, for example, won a lawsuit against this big MLM who he accused of being a pyramid scheme. They said that was defamatory. The court said it wasn't defamatory. Let's take this. Let's talk to him. Let's at least hire him as a consultant and say, hey, we're interested in bringing a prosecution against this company in our province or whatever, our state, because we're trying to win re-elections. We're trying to earn favor with our constituents who we rely on to elect us. And shutting down this scam is going to be great PR for us, and it's a good thing that we're doing. Let's move forward on it. And then one by one, we can see things happen, hopefully. You know, I talked recently about the Delaware HB 162 Delaware HB 162, the proposed bill that would impose restrictions on MLM companies. That's like such a minor one, because even that doesn't actually address the basis of the fraud, the endless chain. But it's still a step, you know what I mean? It's still something. We're playing with the tools that we have, you know? But it's just going to take more people speaking out. It's going to take more bravery. It's going to take more commitment. It's going to take more people who already have financial resources who can go up against MLM. Perhaps it's going to get to a point where, you know, I would love to see something happen where like a voice in the anti-MLM space becomes big enough that there could be like almost some counter lobbying, even though I hate even the idea of lobbying. I think it's complete corruption, even if, you know, even if there's somebody lobbying on the good side, like lobbying for right to repair, for example, it's like, why do we even have to be at a point where you have to lobby for the obviously common sense right thing to do? Shouldn't it just be that the bad guys aren't allowed to lobby and it's people vote on what they want? I know, call me crazy. Call me crazy for suggesting democracy, but, you know, shouldn't it be that the best ideas win, not the most money wins? I'm an idealist, obviously. Yeah, steps are good. So true. But yeah, I think it's going to take people individually making change. And what I was going to say was, I would love to see a creator or a group of creators get so big that there's like some, I don't know, Emirati billionaire who like puts up money to like support it, or, you know, some rich person who realizes like, yeah, you know what, these companies suck. Let me put $1 million into, you know, this cause or that cause, or lobbying this way or that way. I mean, look, crazier things have happened. Gay marriage became legalized. Weed became legalized. You know, slavery was abolished. Crazier things have happened, you know? But just trying to take small steps forward every day to get it done. And I think, you know, Queen of Karma in the chat talks about how Marco, Julie, and I getting ready to lobby here in Canada. Yeah. Julie has done a great job. Julie Anderson has done a great job contacting MPs about MLM, and I think that's an amazing thing. And I know the whole purpose of me reading Robert's article was to talk about how the FTC is actually not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But specific state AGs, or in the case of Canada, MPs, they actually can do stuff. We don't need to just rely on the FTC and the Competition Bureau, because they both suffer from the same problems. They're not actually acknowledging that MLM is fraud. So we're not going to get very far with them, even if they do something. What are they going to do? Bring a civil case? Fine some guy $1 million when he scammed $10 million out of people? I'm not interested in that, honestly. At this point, I'm not interested in that. It's fun to score PR points and be like, oh yeah, I said I Am Academy was a scam 4 years ago and they finally got shut down. I'm always right. I always win. Great. But I'm interested in actually stopping scamming. When those people just, transfer to a different MLM or start up a new one and change the name and continue doing the exact same thing and are not in jail, that's a problem for me. That's a really big problem for me. I hate these people. I hate them. I hate scammers. And don't take that out of context and say, oh, well, this is just, malicious. I hate scamming. Okay? I hate the act of scamming. I'm not doing this because I hate those people. I hate those people because of what they're doing. It's not like I just am righteous indignation going after people because I personally dislike them or I have some bias or prejudice towards them. No, I dislike people who scam. I think that's morally wrong, and I'm trying to service the public interest by exposing those scammers and helping people to not get scammed themselves. That's what I'm trying to do, and I'm very concerned with making sure that what I say is the truth, or at the very least, that the information that I'm going through and researching is thorough enough that I actually believe, based on the information I have available to me, that what these people are doing is scamming. Based on the people that I hear from who tell me, hey, this company had this negative impact on me. My brother joined this and now he doesn't talk to the family. I lost this much money. My mind has been messed with and I don't know what to do. Yeah, I detest scammers, And Robert talks in the book here. Another thing Robert says in the book here is about how even the label of anti-MLM is kind of silly. And I'm going to share this part with you here. Let me just find the page here real quick. Okay, here it is. He talks about it. He says, so what is the basis for my own or anyone else's actions to expose and combat the spread of MLM? It is the innate and unstoppable forces of truth and freedom, the natural enemies of frauds and cults. Bars. My work and that of others are not anti-MLM. Such a term is absurd on its face, like anti-murder, anti-lying, anti-sex abuse of children. Once MLM's true nature is revealed, with its disguise of business removed, all that remains is outrageous deception and enormous harm by design. No one supports such fraud. Even those who engage in it do not admit to it. No reason is needed to object to MLM and its cultic manipulations or to work to expose it. It is inherently objectionable. The MLM apparatus, I don't like to say industry because it's not an industry, the pyramid scheme apparatus that disguises itself behind the label of MLM, loves to paint people like myself or Robert Fitzpatrick as haters, clout chasers, grifters who are just trying to make money off anti-MLM content. They call us anti-MLM. That is a excuse me. That is a language trick designed to try to create two sides of an issue, when really there is no two sides of the issue. It's not something to debate over. It's not something where there's like, oh, they made a good point, we made a good point. It's just evil and good. It's just you're doing fraud and we're against fraud. They say, oh, we're also against fraud. You know what I mean? In order to get away with the evil you're doing, you have to try to brand it as actually the opposite. You have to brand it as the most good, most righteous thing possible, which is why we see in all of these press releases from the direct selling advocacy advisory, they talk about, oh, we're supporting millions of micro entrepreneurs. Most of them are women, and we're helping them get a part-time income and blah. Lying. They're doing the opposite of all those things. But to the uninitiated who don't know about MLM and its evils, they might hear me talk about what I think it is, which is what it is: fraud, pyramid scheme, scamming, cult, manipulation, deception. And then they'll hear what MLMs say about it. And there might be some middle ground fallacy at play where people go, oh, well, maybe it's not so bad, maybe it's not so good, maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. That doesn't help people. That doesn't help people who actually seek the truth. It just is an example of the scammers being successful in obfuscating and confusing people more. Kevin Lindsay, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't know why it didn't come up in the chat. So anyways, shout out to Robert Fitzpatrick. Don't join an MLM. And yeah, MLM is fraud. Oh, let me refresh this. I don't know. Why did that one not come up, you know? Let me see. Let me read your guys' comments here now. YouTube, super chats, enabled. Yes, enabled. Test, YouTube, super chat. Let's see. Weird. Very strange. But thank you, Kevin. Everybody, big up Kevin Lindsay in the chat. Let me read your guys' comments here. Based if true, what up? Devin says, the caddish duplicity. Caddish. Who knew that word? Dishonorable, especially toward a woman, typically used of a man or his behavior. Love that. Scam, still confused about Marco, right? Alex says, or it could go the other way and MLMs could overtake entire governments within years. Yep. I should do a video about the pyramid scheme that took over all of Albania and caused the entire economy of Albania to collapse. Somebody commented on my most recent PBD video saying, Kash Patel did the same thing PBD did. Quote, do you think if anything was in the Epstein files, I wouldn't release it? Is the same as PBD saying, do you think if I was worried about my business, I would go on CoffeeZilla? True. Thank you, Miss Black Introvert. She says, the skin looking flawless. Funny because I didn't even do like my scrub thing in the shower that I was supposed to do today, but thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Goon points. Goon points. What is his skincare routine? Brought to us by Arbonne? Yeah, no kidding. Gooning on the bus home. Love that, Tretino. Skincare routine, water. Yeah. FTC should have never called them legitimate businesses. True. Alex says, I fucking bet you could sell fairy dust today and it would sell like crazy. LOL. I hate this timeline. True. Avi says, my aunt came over for the first time and I just went downstairs to get water and she has Unicity packets in a Ziploc bag and a Unicity water bottle. Bro, I hope she doesn't try to pitch my mom on this. Insane. Show your mom the video. Show your mom my video about Unicity before your aunt tries to recruit her. MLMs are just one step up from hypnotizing someone to just give you the money out of their pocket for nothing in return. True, yeah, yeah. Brandy says, I have a friend who keeps trying to recruit me to an MLM every time I talk to her. We don't talk often. Sorry to hear that. The video from Julie is why the FTC does nothing about MLM. Did Julie make a video about that? FTC? Oh, yeah, she put 1 year ago, why the FTC does nothing about MLMs. Nice. I didn't even know that. Uriel, what up? Fun and revenge. I figured out I was in an MLM cult through watching about Scientology. True. DTI, what up? MLMs will fade away but might evolve into something else. Well, as long as the endless chain is down, then, you know, the harm will be severely mitigated. Punk Film says, I've been dragged into one of the Scientology buildings in LA a long time ago. They make you watch a short film, and next thing they hand you Dianetics and say, okay, $50 at the front. LOL. Connect 14X, what up? Never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. True. L. Ron Hubbard, great quote. He says, you don't get rich writing science fiction. If you want to get rich, start a religion. Bars. What up, Queen of Karma? Steps are how the anti-choice people made so many inroads into criminalizing abortion. True. DTI, are you Canadian? I'm sorry, Queen of Karma, you're Canadian? You're in Ottawa. I can be at Parliament. I just need the support. I can't do it alone. I'm little. I would love to go to the Parliament. Did Julie send me that letter to send to MPs? I hope she did. We're literally at a point in history where calling shitbags gets reprimanded. You know what I realize is crazy? Is I go through more legal battles trying to do good in the world than people go through legal battles doing bad in the world. For example, let's pretend that, great example, Scott and Peter talking about me being a drug dealer, right? Let's say that I actually was a drug dealer right now, and I got arrested today for selling drugs. Me, as a first-time non-violent offender, getting caught for distributing narcotics, hypothetically, I would probably not go to jail. I would probably, the case would probably get dismissed or, tossed out because of, the court system being backed up. I might have to do like some community service. I might have to do like some drug rehabilitation program. My lawyer could say, oh, well, he's a drug addict and he was selling drugs to try to support his habit and he actually needs mental health help and whatever. And he's a first-time offender and he's a young man and he just made a mistake. I would probably never even go to jail. And it would be, one and done. The fact that I'm, the civil court system is so much worse than the criminal court system. And also with criminal charges, for example, if you're accused of murder, the threshold is that you have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Meaning there has to be no doubt. There has to be an absolute certainty, according to the jury, that you did the crime. Civil lawsuits, it's more abstract than that. It's like, you got to argue this side, that side, what was the intent, blah, blah, blah. It's really insane. Kevin says, I lost my job and I had a coworker say, sorry, I got a free ticket for you for a convention. I seen your videos and was like, nope. Amazing. Queen of Karma says, I think we also have to try to make coercive control a criminal offense. I mean, it's so abstract, right? Oh, Alex, you got laid off in June. Damn. You know damn well these MLM dudes are sending unsolicited photos of their micro-entrepreneurs. True. Punk Films. I remember this one Filipino dude that always had a big stupid grin, and he would always get in my way every goddamn time I was walking home from school. I hate that. Jay Grito, you like the PBD impression? I do a great impression of Patrick. That's number one, okay? When I was in the military, the Shah of Iran was in power. And then after that, I was working at Morgan Stanley day before 9/11, okay? Adam, Vinny, Tom. Cover Albania, especially since Trump brought peace there. Hilarious. Maybe it's Maybelline. Marco, you just spit bars yourself. Thank you. What happened to I Am Academy? I got scammed by one guy on Instagram. They're done. They're dead. The one video from Julie shows DSA Day on Capitol Hill. Thank you, Queen of Karma, for putting that letter to Canadian MPs in the chat. Oh, sorry, in the Discord. Mo, what up? What do you think about Freemasons? I really don't know much about Freemasons. So funny picture you pulling up to the Parliament building and they just pause their day and hear you out. Freemasons, the only experience that I really had with anything Freemason-ish was my first girlfriend like 10 years ago. She was part of this thing that I still don't quite understand, which was like religious Girl Scouts. And I'll pull it up for you because I still don't really understand what it was. Maybe we can learn together. She was part of this thing called Job's Daughters. If you know, in the Bible, there's the story of Job, who's like the man who, you know, God punishes him to test his faith or whatever. So she was like, she told me about how she was in this thing. See, that donation comes up, but the other ones don't. Thank you, Kevin Lindsay. Do you know if Experior Financial Group is MLM? I've heard about it, but I haven't done any research on it. Trust your gut. If it don't make sense, it don't make sense. But I appreciate you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Anyways, she told me, like, at the time I was dating her, we were both like 19. Maybe I was 20, she was 19. Anyway, she was only a few months younger than me. And she told me how she had done it when she was younger, like when she was a kid and a teenager. But as an adult, I had never actually... She only went to like one thing when we were together, and then there was one time that she invited me to something at the and it took place at the Masonic Lodge in Edmonton. And let me see if I can find it. Freemasons Hall of Edmonton. Yeah, dude, this is so fucked. But it was like this. It was like this sort of, or was it this? Yeah, this was the building. So it was here, and this is the Freemasons Hall. And inside, the floor was like this, the black and white checker. I think this was actually the room. And they did like some... I went there and everyone was very nice, but they did like some... It was like very white, very like, I don't know, it seemed to be like a Christian thing. I don't know. And everybody, they did this like ceremony where they like walked around here, and like somebody stood there and somebody held a staff and they sacrificed a baby. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, I couldn't resist. They didn't sacrifice a baby. Here's what it says. Job's Daughters International is a Masonic affiliated youth organization for girls and young women aged 10 to 20. Okay, so that's why she wasn't really participating in it at that point. She was like almost aged out. The organization commonly referred to as Job's Daughters. It welcomes many religions and cultures. Okay. They must believe in a supreme being. They can serve as any of the female youth leaders in Demolay, being able to serve as a sweetheart, princess, duchess, or chapter little sis. What the hell? I don't remember any of that. At age 18, they are able to join the Order of the Eastern Star, the Daughters of the Nile. What the fuck? The Order of the White Shrine of Jerusalem? What the fuck? What the helly? Started by Ethel T. Weed Mick in Omaha, Nebraska. What is it? The purpose of the organization is to band together young women and strive to build character through moral and spiritual development. Goals include a greater reverence for God and holy scriptures, as stated in the Job's Daughters Constitution, loyalty to one's country and the flag, respect for parents, guardians, and elderly. I mean, that seems nice, right? It does strike me as kind of weird, though. But I think even going to church is kind of weird. So, let me just Control F the word Israel. Jerusalem. Christian. Islam. Muslim. Jewish. Okay. Anyways, don't know about that really, but that's to answer the question about Freemasonry. I don't really know shit about it. Also, I will say one thing. Speaking of what I was talking about civil court system, on Monday, my lawyers in one of my lawsuits have a very important hearing. So wish me luck on that. Send me thoughts and prayers. I spent a lot of money that I don't have for these lawyers, for this legal team that I have. And, you know, I'm optimistic about their abilities. I'm hopeful. Spent a lot of money on it. Definitely, you know, if you're eager to pay goon tax and you haven't done it, it's definitely welcome. But yeah, it's anxious about that. And right now you can't see it around me, but there's just boxes and stuff strewn about everywhere. Because we're in the middle of a move right now. So like today we're at IKEA, mad ting. Tomorrow is going to be moving boxes all day long, boxes and furniture. So wish me luck. You know, what up, Joseph? My wife is familiar with Job's daughter, says Punk Films. Isaac, what up? Prototype, what up? Punk Films, my wife is familiar with Job's daughters. Her friends weren't allowed to talk about it. Interesting. I'm hoping Marco's ex was a 5%er. Guess he's only interested in gal, huh? Alistair Crowley was a Freemason. I knew a Gnostic priest. I still don't know what it is. She wasn't even Jehovah's Witness. She was like a normal chick. It was like so weird. Did the girl you know end up joining the Eastern Star? No, she's like a dental. This is my first girlfriend from like 10 years ago. She's like a dental assistant now or something. Or a dental hygienist. I don't know. You know. Marco has the best Jewish lawyer. He will achieve victory. I actually don't think any of my lawyers are Jewish. Nope. None of my lawyers are Jewish. Interesting. Inshallah goes well Monday. I only hope you hired a Goldberg, Shalom, Bernstein, etc. Yeah. You know, I didn't. They have one. I don't have one. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I am allowed to talk about that one, but I don't want to say too much because I don't want to like jinx it or jeopardize it in any way. My barber went fucking stupid. My barber treated this haircut like it was the last haircut he was ever going to give. Crazy shit. You know what? That's all I really got for y'all today. I know I kept it short on the last stream. I got to keep it short on this one too, honestly, because, oh no, our legal team is in trouble then. I got to keep it short on this one too, because it's going to be early start tomorrow morning, Sunday, moving. So, but if you want to pay goon tax even after the fact, I will talk about one more thing though. So I've been working for a while. You guys have heard me talk about this if you're regular goons. Marco was promised a Jewish lawyer thousands of years ago. So true. I was talking about how I'm working on this guide, which is a free guide to try to get people to help people deal with friends or loved ones who are in MLM, how to talk to them and, you know, help them. And I'm almost finished with this guide. What I want your opinion on is basically like, my hope with the guide is that people take the information in it, which is totally free, and apply it to their own lives and situations and see improvements and that it helps them, okay? That's the primary goal. When it comes to this being like a thing that helps me, not only does it help me to feel good about helping people, I just got 2 follow-up emails from a couple people that I did one-on-one calls with last month, and both were successful. It's great. Both of them. I talked to one lady who her younger brother was in Amway, and we did a one-on-one call. And I talked to another gentleman from Australia whose wife was in Amway, and I sent them a follow-up email a couple days ago, and I asked them, what's the update? And both of them told me that their respective loved ones who were in Amway have now distanced themselves from Amway, and one of them seems to have quit completely, and the other one has dialed it way back. So that's amazing, and that's so gratifying to see that. So, you know, with the guide, I assume that there are going to be people who want my help in applying the information to their own lives, and they're going to book one-on-one calls with me. However, what I'm anticipating as being like potentially a pitfall with the one-on-one calls is that, like, okay, let's say somebody gets the guide from me and we do a one-on-one call. Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough for them to just talk to me for like 30 minutes or an hour and have the guide and then be done? Or does it make more sense for me to sort of offer this as like a guided program where people pay essentially a subscription every week, where I do a check-in with them every week, where they send me either a like text update or a video, and I respond to them with a video. You know, there are services like Loom where you can send somebody a video. And I know I have friends who are like personal trainers that do online coaching that do like their clients will send them weekly updates on like their physique and their weight and their workouts, and then the coach will send them back like a Loom talking about basically their thoughts on the progress. I was thinking maybe this could be something that I could apply to the MLM strategy, because one, everyone's situation is unique to them. And so I might be able to give them advice that helps them broadly with the guide and a one-on-one call. But I can already anticipate there being situations like, they asked me this, or they talked about this, and I didn't actually know what to say. And I sort of would like there to be the option of me offering them this like weekly check-in so that I can help support people up until the point that their friend or loved one leaves the MLM, or at least until they feel confident enough to not need me anymore, at which point they can just cancel it. Imagine being a lawyer and getting a "Are you Jewish?" text from your Middle Eastern client. So funny. My wife used Amway body soap once. She got mad blisters from what she tells me. Insane. Alex says, that's an awesome idea for a service. Are you looking for downlines? So funny. Dan Chabungus says, Marco, don't do thos, and then says, Marco, don't do this. Oh, you're referring to the Netanyahu?
Hey, Marco, don't do this.
But are you actually saying that about the guided thing that I'm talking about, or just referring to the audio? Maybe do both and let them choose. Yeah, I could offer that. Mo says, as long as the material helps them and they get a helpful service from you. I mean, also, if they just wanted to do one call, technically they could sign up for the subscription to do one and then like cancel it, right? Basically what I'm trying to figure out is like, do I do this as a call, a one-on-one call thing, or do I do it as like the weekly check-in thing where I send them a video? What's the most effective way? And yeah, I suppose I could offer both. And the thing with the calls is that if I start getting a ton of people trying to book calls, one, it's eating into time that I could be like editing, and it's a lot of time commitment that I'm frozen doing those calls. It's also very emotionally taxing to take on a lot of these stories in a single day. Imagine I'm doing like 3 hours worth of these calls every single day. It would be a lot. And the videos that I'm sending, like the video check-ins, would be not as taxing, I feel, and I could do it from anywhere. I wouldn't have to it wouldn't be dependent on us being on the same time zone, for example, and I could do it, I'd have more flexibility to be able to do it at convenient times. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Maybe I will offer both, and then, the one-on-one call can be more of like a, I don't know, premium thing, because it requires me to actually like take time out and schedule whatever with people. So I'm not sure. Dan says, I just need to hear the sound effect. Okay. So yeah, perhaps I'll offer both. We'll see. But from what I've seen, that works for a lot of people. They have sort of a system to help people achieve the goal, whatever it is. Like, for example, my friend, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you, man. Kevin holding the goon chat up on his shoulders during this stream. Big up to you, Kevin. What if instead of a one-on-one call, you just gather a group into a single call? I've thought about that too, and I even had like a long discussion with ChatGPT about this. And what I find is that people want specific tailored advice on their own unique situation. Every person who has a relative or a loved one in an MLM, we all know that MLMs are functionally the same, and the cult strategies and buzzwords and, scam is the same, but each person's situation is different. Each person has a loved one who's in a different thing. They're different ages. It might be a different dynamic. Like, perhaps my advice for someone talking to their parent is going to be different than someone talking to their friend or relative. And I can see how a group call could just immediately devolve into like me not giving enough time to each person, basically. So I think I've sort of ruled that out. We need to open up an anti-MLM agency that has a bunch of us helping people out of them, like Pierogi did for catching scammers. Yeah, interesting. I would definitely love to have something like that, or be part of something like that in the future, for sure. But I mean, the reason I'm thinking about this sort of method is because, yeah, exactly. It's almost like therapy. They need to be personally heard, and yeah, totally. The reason I was thinking about it this way is because I've seen it work quite well. For example, my friends who do bodybuilding, right? They post videos on social media of their physique, which shows that they know what they're talking about when it comes to fitness. Then they have like a lead magnet, which is like a free shredding guide or a free, fat loss guide. From that, they entice people to hit them up for coaching. And in a lot of cases, they, start very profitable businesses from having these coaching clients who first discovered them through their social media posts. With me, I could see how I could apply that to what I do, where it's like my social media is how people know that I know what I'm talking about with MLM. From that, I give them a free guide about helping friends and loved ones out of MLM. And then if they want my like direct support with their friend or loved one, then they can hit me up. The coaching one is genius because you could technically have a client forever. With the MLM thing, I wouldn't want people to be signed up forever, and I would accept that they're not going to be signed up forever. So it would require like turnover. That's normal in everything. But like for fitness people, it's almost like they could have a coach to get into contest prep shape, or just to lose fat, and then they could do like, okay, I'm going on a bulk. I want you to coach me through the bulk. Okay, I'm going through a cut. I want you to coach me through the cut. So I guess that's normal in every situation, but it's actually good in the MLM case. It's actually good to have a constant churn of these people who are hitting me up for this sort of guided, consulting or support, because I want to be able to help as many people as possible. And MLM is so they're focused on recruiting and harming as many people as possible. And so if I want to help as many people as possible, there actually has to be this turnover. So I don't think it's a problem at all. I think it's actually good. But hey, we'll have to try it and see. What about cult dropouts? Any information for those folks in your guide? Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. It's applicable to anything, to any cult. MLMs are commercial cults. Technically, it would work for that too. Yes, true. I guess it could apply to any cult. Punk Film says, my sister did a lot of damage to our relationship when she tried to make me go dressed up in the suit and tried to get me to join WFG back in 2016. Haven't talked to my sister since then. Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. See, this is a situation that's all too common. And, that was exactly what happened with my best friend in 2015. Granted, I didn't get dressed up in the suit, but I went to the meeting. And when I tried to talk to him about it and told him I wasn't going to join, I have a whole video about this on my channel showing the aftermath and the fallout of that. You're just like everyone else. You don't believe in me. They told me you would say that. So, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. There's no two ways about it. It fucking sucks. What I'm hoping is that with this, guided program, I can actually prevent that from happening to people in the first place, or help them mend those connections while they're still, recent. After 6 years is hard, but crazier things have happened, man. A lot of people don't talk to certain relatives for like many years at a time, and then it still gets worked out. So I really do hope that you guys can have a good relationship again. Alex says the market for this service is literally ongoing, growing, and infinitely. Is that what you meant to say? Ongoing and growing infinitely. I see. Fun and Revenge says, I mean recovery like after being in a cult. Yeah, I mean, Granted, I'm not a therapist, and that might be something that's more appropriate for a therapist. What I was sort of targeting with my thing is like people who have friends and loved ones in MLMs. But I would definitely be there to support and listen to people who have left one as well. Absolutely. Punk Film says, she joined because a church friend got her into WFG. I was still in high school. My sister had me try to recruit people I knew in school and family that I knew personally. I left to do church things. True. Very interesting. Yeah, churches, families, schools, these are places where MLM scammers are really, it's ripe for them. Anywhere where there's a lot of people, this is why you see them. Sometimes these people will go to like, in my video confronting an Amway recruiter, we see the woman who just goes to a busy cafe one afternoon just to like prospect. So fucking lame. But anyways, that's what I'm working on, and I'll keep working on it. And I can always tailor it. I can always change it if the niche is too narrow. And saying, hey, this is for people with friends and loved ones in MLM, which I don't think it is too narrow, and it doesn't entice or attract people who have friends and loved ones in other cults. That's fine. But if I can always change it later. So I just need to do it. I've had a lot of imposter syndrome about it. Maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I'm not good enough to do it. Maybe people won't listen to me. But I know in my heart that that's not true, and I just need to do it. So, yeah, working on that. Stay tuned. It's getting close. So, yeah. Anyways, I got to pee. I got to wake up early to move. I got to pack more stuff. So, yeah, I got to end this. Chris says, I'm not positive, fun, and revenge, but I think many churches and community centers might have information about recovery groups like Alcoholics Anonymous, Overeaters, etc. Thank you for that. I'm a social service worker, but I cannot do private practice. But I would offer help if needed. Nothing says I can't give advice based on my education and experience. Yeah, true. And I mean, people are, like, for example, my friends who are bodybuilders, right? They're not licensed, physiotherapists or whatever, nutritionists, whatever. But they just have the results. They have the experience. Me, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist, but I have the experience of my friend joining a scam and learning what I should and shouldn't have said. And I also have 6 years under my belt of making these videos and infiltrating these companies and learning what they're all about and getting sued by them and fighting them and winning and all this stuff. So, I think my advice would definitely be helpful. And oftentimes I actually don't think a therapist is the best route for this. I had a friend's wife reach out to me 2 years ago who told me, oh, Marco, I just want to tell you this crazy story that happened to me. I went to my therapist today and they tried to recruit me to Arbonne. So even the therapist was in it. Even therapists can be susceptible to this sort of brainwashing and, fall for the disguise of MLM as, a company or a business. So, yeah. What up, Triggered Petite? Mo says that's better than the license. I agree. Marco said we were moving. Did you get the Latin gym goddess? Not yet, but I did see her again at the gym, and we did chat a little bit, but just halal, I didn't ask her for any contact info. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care. We just talked about like gym. What are you working? What are you training today? Oh yeah, good. How often do you train a week? Oh yeah, okay, good. Yeah, join the Discord, y'all. Post in Discord. Life experience is the best experience, even in the career of social services. So true. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Marco. Also, one of our goons, Burger Baron, in the Discord posted that he was going on BFR tonight, so I'm excited to check that out on the next stream. We'll hopefully have another goon versus Scott and Peter moment on stream, so looking forward to that. All right, y'all. Appreciate you. Peace out.
Thanks, Marco. Later.